When a narcissist realizes they can't control you anymore, they don't just walk away quietly. Instead, they unleash one final toxic tactic that can undo months, sometimes years, of personal growth and healing. And if you're not prepared for it, you could fall right into their trap. Before this last trick comes into play, there's a silent war being waged, a psychological battle. Narcissists aren't just afraid of being left or ignored. What truly terrifies them is seeing you grow stronger, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The moment you stop playing by their rules and start standing in your own power, something inside them snaps. They've always survived by projecting their own flaws onto others. It's how they maintain the illusion that they're always right, always in control. But when you stop feeding their ego, when you set firm boundaries and refuse to be manipulated, their whole game starts to fall apart. They're not looking for love, they're looking for control. They feed off your energy, your insecurities, your need for validation. As long as you stayed small and uncertain, you were easy to manage. But the moment you begin to trust yourself, to grow beyond their reach, you become dangerous. To their identity, their ego, their entire sense of superiority. And that's when they strike with their most dangerous move. They attack your strength. Not your weakness, your strength. Where they once put you down for being too sensitive or unsure, now they flip the script. They'll say you've become cold, selfish, or arrogant. They'll accuse you of changing, and not in a good way. What they're really trying to do is make you doubt the very growth that set you free. This is psychological projection in its most toxic form. They're not just trying to make you feel guilty. They're trying to reverse your healing, to drag you back into a place where they can once again be in control. Recognize this tactic for what it is, a desperate, last-ditch attempt to reclaim power over you. Don't fall for it. Your strength threatens them for a reason, because it means they no longer own you. You used to be so caring. Now you're just selfish. Success has really gone to your head. You think you're better than everyone. Sound familiar? This isn't just random criticism. When a narcissist sees that you've grown, when you've finally healed and taken your power back, they'll do something calculated and cruel. They'll attack the very parts of you that you've worked hardest to reclaim. If you've learned to set boundaries, they'll say you're cold. If you've found your voice, they'll say you're aggressive. If you've built confidence, they'll call you arrogant. This tactic is called strength shaming, and it's designed to make you second-guess the qualities that are helping you break free. It's a psychological weapon meant to make you feel guilty for becoming healthy. But that's not the worst of it. When strength shaming doesn't work, narcissists often try something even more manipulative. Nostalgic manipulation. They'll start reminiscing about the old you, the version of you that was easier to control. Remember when you used to laugh at my jokes? You were so much happier before you started reading all those self-help books. I miss the person you used to be. We had such a good relationship before you changed. This isn't about love or longing. It's psychological time travel. They're not missing you. They're missing the version of you that didn't stand up for yourself. The one they could mold, silence, and control. And here's the trap. If you're not careful, you might start missing that version of yourself too. But the most dangerous move is still ahead. When both strength shaming and nostalgia fail, they pull out their final weapon, manufactured vulnerability. Right when you're at your strongest, they suddenly become fragile. They're sick. They're broke. They're going through a crisis. They need you. And just like that, your empathy becomes a doorway they walk right back through. This isn't coincidence. It's strategy. Narcissists know your heart. They know you care. And they will exploit that compassion to try and bring you back under their control. So when someone who once tried to break you suddenly starts acting like the one who's broken, remember, not every cry for help is honest, and not every crisis is real. Sometimes, it's the final act in a long game of control. It's not random. It's calculated. Narcissists take mental notes. They remember exactly what makes you feel guilty, what triggers your instinct to help, and what makes you let your guard down. Then, they use it against you. Your empathy becomes a tool they weaponize, to undo your healing and regain control. And here's the part that will shake you. The crisis they're asking you to help solve? They often create it themselves. They'll sabotage their own job, their health, their relationships, just to put themselves in a position where you'll feel responsible for picking up the pieces. Why? Because it serves two purposes. First, it pulls you right back into the role of rescuer. Second, it proves to them that they still have power over you. But there's an even darker layer to this. They don't just want your help. They want you to give up your strength to help them. They'll ask you to go against the very boundaries you've fought hard to build. I know you don't usually lend money, but this is different. Wait, you said you needed space, but I really need you right now. I know you're focusing on yourself, but can't you just help me this once? Every just this once is designed to test your limits and tear them down. They're not really asking for support. They're asking you to prove that they still matter more than your own well-being. And if you give in, you risk losing everything you've worked so hard to reclaim. The scariest part? The crisis might actually seem real. They might genuinely be struggling. But that's part of the trap. Because while they could reach out to others, they come to you. Why? Because they know you're the one most likely to bend, to break, to sacrifice for them. Not because you're weak, because you're strong, because you care. And they know exactly how to use that against you. So, how do you protect yourself from this final manipulation? The answer lies in something called differentiated compassion, the ability to care about someone's struggles without feeling responsible for fixing them. You can feel empathy without losing yourself in their chaos. The real question to ask is this: is helping them helping me become the person I'm meant to be, or is it pulling me away from that path? Because here's the truth. Narcissists don't fear rejection. They fear your growth. Your strength reminds them of the potential they've given up in favor of control. When you choose to be your full, authentic self, especially in the face of their manipulation, you're doing something they've never dared to do. That's why they fight so hard to drag you back. But every time you recognize the game, every time you hold your boundaries, even in the middle of a crisis they've carefully constructed, you're not just protecting your peace. You're showing them that their power over you was never real. Real strength isn't about being untouchable. It's about seeing manipulation clearly, calling it what it is, and choosing you anyway. Because in the end, their desperation to control you is just proof that you've already outgrown them. The narcissist's last dirty trick only works if you forget who you are. But once you see it for what it is, a final, desperate move to stay relevant in your life, you realize something powerful. Their need to manipulate you means you're already free, and no guilt trip, no crisis, no emotional plea is worth giving that freedom up.